basically the great value of subwoofers. I love great value. I love what Walmart does with those products. This is American Bass XR 15. Let's see, it's not marked if it's D2 or D4. Maybe it's on the back. D2. Okay, so it's D2. This is the XR series. Twin 1-inch slugs. The failure on this one was it came detached at the cone. And I was just going to replace the cone, but I don't know, and I still might. I thought it was great that the frame is nice because it uses a 9-inch spider, which is optional if you have a cone that's shallow enough. Rubber surround, double stitched. I found when I was blowing it off with the compressed air, I noticed that the laminate was coming up. This is just a glass fiber laminate. I'll show it. Sorry if this hurts your speakers. Here, I'll pause it. There we go. I got it up a little bit. So this peels off. It's just glued on there. So the great thing that the motor is basically larger than the Sundown SA version 2. SA version 2 uses only 2 3/4 inch voice coil. Why they didn't do full 3-inch, I don't know. I guess the U series does that. It has a full 3-inch. It's a little bit bigger motor, but you know, whatever. I'm not the boss of Jacob. Jacob is the boss of Jacob, so, and he's the GOAT. But this is a much better value than and better performance at about $100 less. So I think on sale you can find the SA version 2 for about $300, maybe on sale like for Black Friday or something like that. Typically it's about $349. This one you can find all the time, like on Walmart, Amazon, for $200 shipped, which is a killer deal. I have one. I don't really like this tinsel lead all on one side, but you know, whatever. The spider is large enough where it's not using all of it, so it's not going to really cause any problems of pulling it to one side or whatnot. Sometimes you see that we saw that on the Type R series from Alpine and a couple other brands where they would only do leads on one side. Tilo is the one that started that with the Sunfire woofers for Bob Carver. On the Sunfire True Sub, there's leads on both sides, but only one side is hooked up because it's a single voice coil. But the other side you want on there so that it balances out. Basically, you want to make sure the butthole stretches evenly, not just to one side. So I'm not a big fan of these, but I have one debadged. I had Sherry pull the badging off, and I think I have this boot, and I can show you here in a second. Here we have one debadged. There you go. No more logo. Cut off the boot. I think I have these boots too. This, for reference, is the original TC9. This one particularly came from the Eclipse 8 series. You can see right there. Twin 3/4 inch slugs. And then Tilo, like also Atomic and Scott Atwell from Phi, they use an extended pole to get more excursion. I like just adding more ferrite. It adds more BL. According to Tilo, the newer version with the twin 1-inch slugs has 25% more BL. Cool. And then that's the way you get your clearance. It actually costs less than this to machine. Let me turn this down. This seems a little loud. That's Kaleidoscope Jukebox, if anybody's familiar with that. Here is the coil. We ended up measuring 55 millimeter wine height. Uses round aluminum wire, which is fine. That's what Tilo used on the 3 HP. Twin. The bottom spider seems softer than the top. Again, I think these are actually too tough, too hard, considering that this is an aluminum coil. But I would love to look at the frequency response that was measured. But it's also, sometimes it's a good measure just to look at what is printed. So sometimes, again, it depends on the manufacturer and how stringent Bob is at American Bass. Bob won't answer my emails anymore, so I don't know what's up with that. But, oh, well, I thought this one, the XR, had the weirdo 3.3 voice coil, but it has a regular 3-inch coil. In fact, I'll give you the gap dims here in a second. And I was like, oops, my bad. and then I asked him if he wanted me to promote anything, and he didn't ever respond back. So I'm like, oh, I guess I don't have that much clout. But let me measure these real quick and then give you a comparison here to the TC9. All right, the ID is 74.2 millimeter, and the OD on the gap is 83.8, which is like a good medium. We could probably fit the 8-layer concept coil in here, which would be a really good fit, really good excursion. And then these are great. It's actually more shallow than the TC9. So this would make a good 10 or a 12 with the 4-spoke frame. Let me get the gap dims on this. What was the 74.2 and then 83.8. Let me use a Sharpie on it. There we go. Focus. There we go. So the pole is the same. And then the washer is a little bit bigger on the TC9. Tilo probably had clearance issues because these were also modular. I don't think this was the modular. Well, maybe it was. No, the modular one had the sides. No? Fuck, I can't remember. The one that was on the Eclipse ones, it hung over. And I remember it clamping into the sides, and then the top would bolt around it. But is that right? Yeah, and then it would clamp through the sides. But this one, I guess, was not the removable one. It's probably the Series 1, version 1, whatever. And then later on, Tilo reintroduced the TC9 on the website right around 2007. I said, well, the original TC9 was dual 3/4 inch slugs. This is what was used on the Orion HCCA 12D from like 1997-98 to about 2003. And then he did the twin 1-inch slugs later. So, ta-da, there you go. And it's only like a 1/2 inch more. You could even use this same pole, it's fine. It's got clearance, see, like that. Here's a better look. I think I measured 9-inch. This looks bigger. This looks like a 10 and a 9, and then an 8. Let me measure real quick. Yeah, 10, 9, 8. So you can put a 10-inch spider in here if you wanted. You probably have to use it with a 4-inch coil just to make the cone shallow enough to fit in there. But I would normally just use it with a 9-inch spider and then like a 3-inch motor. Definitely something taller and bigger and stronger than this is worthy of this one. I also I pulled off the terminal. It was just 2 bolts right there, and then it has the opposing 180 terminals that you can do. I'll probably do like 4 gauge, and it's pretty sturdy. 4-spoke, reinforced, nice. I think they still share the tooling. Who is it? Soundcubed Digital Designs. Soundcube Digital Designs, they probably also use this frame. So does Massive, yeah, and then American Base. Those 3 are like in cahoots. They all use the same builder. You know, it's cheaper if you go in thirds or fourths with other guys instead of paying the $40,000 tooling yourself. So, but that's what happens when you're rich. You can do rich people shit and then go do stuff with aviation. That's my review on. Oh. One last reference. Let me get the SAv2 so you can see that I'm not full of shit. That Jacob's goal is to get as much money out of you as possible with being slightly better than JL or Rockford. So, but you know, whatever. Cool factor, nut Helger factor. Here, let me show you. I hope I already took off this frame and then like put the hardware back on, because otherwise it's just fucking loose. Loosey goosey. You like those strong hands, don't you? You know how many wieners that's touched? Like, technically 2, but mostly just 1. My baby leg. Yeah. Alright, got it off. So, glad they finally changed this because those plastic ones sucked. And this is basically a detachable version of the one that Scar uses. Scar actually has it machined into the top plate, which I'm actually not a fan of. I actually prefer this, or what I use. I use steel bearing spacers there's bearing spacers for skateboard wheels. I have a skateboard background, but this is either cast aluminum or zinc or whatever. So it's something. And it says Sundowny in it. That means it's Sundowny. Other than that, I don't think this says. Oh no, they lasered it on the back. Yeah. So there it is. SAv2. Can you see that? There you go. SAv2. there you go. Dual 1-inch slugs. The back plate is a little bit thicker, just by a hair, than the American Bass XR, and then of course the original TC sounds. 2 3/4 with some overclocking venting. The full 3-inch, So, but this one is 349. Oh, it is bolted too. There you go. Got the bolts. And then let me get you the bolt hole circle on this one. This one is a standard 5-inch, and I think Jacobs is also the standard 5-inch, which I'm finally glad he figured the fuck that out. I don't know why he's doing that fucking 120 millimeter bullshit on the SA for years. Shit, where'd that frame go? Ooh, sorry. So yeah, the Sundown is 5-inch. So is the TC Sounds is 5-inch. This is, of course, what's funny is the steel, all the parts were made in China, and then Tilo would go through the process of actually assembling here. Well, you know, he was building these since the 90s. So China back then was not the way it is now. They're much more advanced now, and they have much more training and much more experience in building subwoofers now. So you can see these are both Chinese made. They look great. They actually look better than Tilo's. But Tilo would import everything, and then for some reason he stuck to the SAE standard, which I don't like, which is 1/4 is the standard on these. These are M6 by 1 millimeter on the pitch. Oh, that's what I wanted to measure, was the circle. BHC bolt hole circle. So it looks like 5 3/4, but the real measurement is in, and you can measure edge to edge. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you guys. When you measure these, what you want to do is measure the left edge, see? The left edge to the left edge, and that should give you the correct measurement. So, which looks like it's probably going to be 145. So that sounds more correct. So 145 millimeter. The other way to do it is to center, but it's hard to tell where center is unless you're using a Chinese standard. Chinese standards will go in increments of 5 millimeter. So 155, 135, 145, 140, 150. See? So it's a much better system than 5-inch, and then it's like 8 3/4 and 6 5/8 and all that other bullshit. I don't like that either. So metric is the way to go. But that's it. That's my review. If you want a really good buy and you just want some quick speakers that you can buy from Amazon or something like that, and then even debadge. Debadging these is going to be a little difficult because you saw that badge is glued into the skin. But what would really be great is if somebody was in Ohio, and you could hit up Wildse, WLLDSE. Those guys make or import some pretty good woofers. And American Bass is also there in Ohio as well. I think Cleveland, if I remember right. But you know, Ohio's pretty small and it's pretty stinky right now from Palestine. But if anybody can get the hookups on there, I will do some trades with you. I will buy some shit from you. Love you. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.